we'll go through the new part of class that we want to do here today. So we finished. The reason why this is we're starting this now is because in the previous class we finished the Torah, we finished the 5 books of Moses. We have most of it recorded, Baruch Hashem, and there was a recommendation that there's not a lot of classes on Tanakh, and let's continue. Let's not stop here. Why stop here when we could keep on going and continue the rest of Tanakh? So we're going to try. God willing, we're going to do about 10 verses each class, and I'll share with you some. We'll learn it with Rashi's interpretation, and I'll share with you some of the things that many of you have not learned. Honestly, myself in yeshiva never really had the opportunity to learn this well. Maybe I did, but I don't remember. But I'm looking forward, myself beginner kind of in this, I'm looking forward to learning this together with you. Okay. Moshe Eved Hashem. It was after Moshe passed away, and he was the servant of God. He was completely committed, which is, I heard actually someone in Shul yesterday saying when they heard the Chumash being read at the end of the Parsha, that how could you call Moshe a slave? And in the commentary that I sent him a picture of that's brought here, it's the greatest compliment for a tzaddik to be the slave of Hashem, considered totally nullified to Hashem, is the greatest compliment actually in life. You know, in some people has negative connotations to be the servant, the slave of someone, but to be the servant and the slave of Hashem by righteous people is the greatest compliment you can give. Anyway, Yomer Hashem el Yeshua binun Misharis Moshe Lemer, and Moshe, Hashem speaks to Yoshua. This is the first time we really have directly, Hashem commanded Moshe to put his hands on Joshua, but here we have Hashem talking straight to Yeshua. And he calls him Misharis Moshe. He was the minister of Moshe, or he was like totally nullified to his teacher Moshe. He was constantly lived his life on a daily basis together with his teacher Moshe. Now, Rashi here says, I don't know why there's no Hebrew here, but at least there's English here in the Rashi's. The Rashi's is in the brown box. And Rashi says that this is just flows straight from the Torah into the Tanakh, into the Navi, into the book of Joshua. Goes straight. We learned about the book Moshe Rabbeinu passing away, and this just flows straight into what's going to happen next. Moshe passed away, and Hashem speaks to Yeshua. What does Hashem tell Yeshua, which is what we're going to learn in today's class, the opening conversation between Hashem and Yeshua? And you're really going to see that Hashem is going to tell Yeshua, be strong. He's going to tell him 3 times. When we finish the Torah, we say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nis chazek. He's going to tell him, Chazak v'yamatz. He's going to tell him to be strong. And Rashi is going to interpret it. Why does it say 3 times be strong? One is in the physical world, one is Torah, one is in war. We'll see as we go through the verses today in Hashem's opening conversation in the Tanakh, as we see with Yeshua. And this is what God tells Yeshua. Moshe avdi meis. Moshe, my servant, has passed away. Moshe, my servant, died. Moshe has passed away. He's gone. Va'ata now. Kum, get up. Avaris hayardin. Cross over the Jordan River, because they were parked in the desert. I think in the Moabite desert over there by the Jordan River. Ata v'chala'am, you and the whole nation, Azed, this whole nation, cross the Jordan, to the land that I'm going to give them. I'm going to give them to the Jewish people, to Bnei Yisrael. So God's telling God's telling Joshua, Moshe died, and now you cross over the river. He's going to split the Jordan River for them and go in. They're going to go to Jericho, which is right here, the city across the river in Israel proper. Now, Rashi says 2 very interesting points on this verse. Number 1, he says, Moshe, my servant, died, and God says, if only if he were alive, I would have asked him to do it, but he's not here anymore. So I would have originally wanted Moshe Rabbeinu to be the one to cross the Jews over, but for whatever reason, he's not here. He can't do it, and therefore you are going to be the one to bring him in. That's one reason why God is opening his statement to Joshua. Moshe passed away. Why opening with that? Just say, bring the Jews into Israel. Because God's saying originally, or had Moshe been alive, I would have asked him to do it, but he's not here. So now I need you to play the leadership role and bring the Jewish people into Israel. Another very interesting commentary that the Rashi brings down here from the rabbis is that a whole other episode took place. And Rashi tells us that there was a tremendous mourning of the Jewish people going on. You can imagine, Moshe passed away, they're lost, they're freaking out, they're sad. All the men were crying. He was the head of the army, he was the head of the Jewish people. He led them everywhere they went. It was so bad, he says, that they forgot a huge section in the Torah. Very interesting. He says a huge section in the Torah forgotten. You want to know how much was forgotten? 3,000 laws, Rashi said, was forgotten from the Jewish people. And that mourning was so intense that they were forgotten. So Yeshua comes to God and he says to Hashem, he says, God, teach me. We lost some of the info that we had. God says, I'm sorry. There's only one man who brought down the Torah to the people, who gave the word from God, who said what the Torah is. And that was only Moshe Rabbeinu, only Moses. Only Moshe Rabbeinu gets the info to get to the Jewish people. Not Yeshua. Torah doesn't come from Yeshua. Torah comes from Moshe. And that's what the verse is saying, that Moshe died. Moshe's gone. There's no more Torah being delivered from heaven. There's never going to come new Torahs. We're not going to add a sixth book to the Torah. It's 5 books of Moses, and that's it. There's the book of Joshua, but that is not where Torah, the mitzvahs are coming from. Now Rashi doesn't address this here, but the Gemara, the Talmud, where Rashi quotes what I just said, says, well, how did they figure it out? So first of all, so Yeshua says, what should I do? The Jewish people are asking me, they want to know what are the 300 laws that we forgot in this major episode of warning. So Hashem says, go to war, get busy and go, just do what you need to do. What do you need to do now? Go to war, you need to fight and conquer Eretz Yisrael. So go, stop asking about the law, go into Israel. But the Gemara says, well, how did they ever figure out what the 3,000 laws that were forgotten, what happened to it? So the Gemara says that they were able to figure it out. There are rules of how information could be extrapolated from the Torah. We have a Kal V'Chomer and a Gzeir Shava. Those are the ways, the 13 ways, or the 33 ways, the different ways that we can extrapolate Torah. And they were able eventually, I think it was, I read the name of the Gemara over there, a great scholar came up after conquering Chavron or whatever over there, the story is over there, and he was able to figure out through tremendous intellect, using the rules of Torah, those 3,000 laws that were forgotten at that time. But he makes a very important point. Moshe, God's telling Moshe right in the beginning, Joshua, that's it. It's done. There's no more Torah to become down from heaven. It was Moshe Rabbeinu. It was a one-man show who will bring down the Torah from there. He's gone. Now we have to move on. No more Torah has been given, and we can learn now through Moshe. Very interesting Rashi, based on the Gemara, this verse number 2 in our Navi. Let's continue. Verse 3. Kol Makom. Go to, right now. I want you to go to war. He's going to tell him. Your job right now, take them into Israel. Kol Makom, any place, asher tidrach kaf raglechem, that your feet, that the soles of your feet will step on anywhere you bring the Jews. Now, boy, lachem nesativ, I've given it to you. Wherever you tread upon, wherever you step, kasher dibarti al Moshe, just as I spoke to Moshe, wherever you get to. Rashi brings very interesting over. He says you should know, even if you conquer lands out of Israel, whatever you conquer, as long as it's done in the right way, it will be done in the holy wars, that the Rambam explains, whatever, so on, can also become Israel proper. So you don't have to won't just be the lands that I delineated, specifically the areas where the tribes will be, but any area that Yeshua will conquer will become also proper Israel. So Yeshua lead them, wherever they step, that's going to become part of this. Very interesting discussion about what makes Israel Israel and what makes it holy. In other words, can it be out those borders? But this comes from the verse that any place you step, even if it's out of Israel, it will become part of Eretz Yisrael. Okay. And he describes here the borders. And I want to show you, I'll read the verse, and I actually have a map here that I'm going to be able to show you guys. Mahabidbar Ba'alavana, from the great desert and the Lebanon. Hazeh, Rashi says that's referring to, as I'll show you in the map, an area called Kadesh. That's where the spies originally, when they went to Yisrael, they started all the way from the south and they traveled all the way to the north. So from the desert, where the Amorites were, all the way at the bottom, where the great desert was, all the way to the bottom of Israel, Hazeh from the bottom, the Nahar Gadol, until the great river, Nahar Pros, which is the Euphrates River, which is all the way to the north. And I'll show you in the map in a moment. Kol Eretz Achitim, including the whole Hittite land that's within the south to the northern borders he just described. The Yam Gadol, and then all the way to the Great Sea, meaning the Mediterranean Sea, all the way from the east to the west, till the sea, Mavoi Hashemesh, as the sun travels, Yigvulchem will be your area. Let me just bring you a map, because I know it's always good when we show the map. Here is, in our map here is a picture of the Euphrates River. I don't know, I guess maybe he meant that all the way, the Euphrates River is obviously very, very north of where Israel is. Perhaps that's his meaning of it, right? We see Israel's right over here, where I'm pointing in the purple on the map. Euphrates River is high up. Perhaps the meaning is all the way to Euphrates River. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's what the verse says, till the Euphrates River. Let me show you another map that I think I have here. So the Edomite area, Rashi says, this is the southern part. So all the way from here, from the bottom of the map, from the Edomite area, all the way to the north, okay, to the Euphrates River, which is all the way up, I guess. And then also from where they were at the Jordan River, all the way to the west, to the Mediterranean Sea. That is the land that Hashem says, I'm going to give to the Jewish people. I'm going to give to the Jewish people. Let me go back to the Rashi. Okay, so that's what we had in verse 4. And he continues, God's telling him, this is the land you're going to go, wherever your footsteps, that's going to belong to Israel. No man will stand before you. God says to Yeshua, you got it. You're going to go and you're going to succeed. All the days of your life. As I was with Moshe, God's telling Joshua, I will be with you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to lose my grasp on you. I will be there for you. I have your back. And then he's going to say 3 times the word chazak v'amatz, and Rashi is going to explain each of them differently. Chazak v'amatz, verse 6. Be strong and have courage. And Rashi says, what's the first be strong and have courage here to say? In worldly pursuits, the things you need in physical necessities. You know, like a lot of issues can come to Yeshua. It could become a lot of issues. People might not want him to divide the land the way he sees to divide the land. There could be inner disharmony, outer, there'll be wars. In the physical pursuits, Yeshua, you're their leader, stand up to the plate and be strong and have courage for what you need to do. Because you will bring this people in, right? Moses never has succeeded in the end of bringing the people into Israel. You will. As the Aretz, to the land, the Shenishpat Lavaisim that I swore to their forefathers, bless Islam, we give it to them. And then again, just be strong. Again, be strong. What does Rashi say? What's the second strong? The Torah, be very strong to keep the Torah. Very strong. Last is to do the whole Torah, keep the whole Torah. Asher Tzivcha Moshe Avdi, that my servant Moshe commanded you. Al Tasser Yemenu, do not wave off from it. Yeminu small, right or left. In order that you should succeed wherever you go. Number 1, be a strong leader in all physical matters. Leader. Number 2, be very strong in keeping to the Torah, because then you will be successful, a successful leader. Verse 8. Don't let this Torah leave your mouth. Talk about it. Be involved in it. Day and night. Meditate on it and toil in it. Torah should be your life. He says here, it should affect your heart. You should meditate in a way that your heart changes because of your meditation in the Torah, because you're diligently learning the Torah. In order that you will then do everything it says by you really studying it. Because then you will be successful in your ways, and you'll prosper if you keep the Torah way. So number 2, be very strong in keeping the Torah and the mitzvahs. And the wording, it's funny, it says this Torah, in verse 8, it says, Sefer Torah, this Torah. And Rashi tells us that Yeshua had the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, the 4th book, Mishnah Torah. Yeah, the 5th book, of the Torah open with him. And God says, that book that you have there, hold that book right next to you, study it diligently. And finally, the 3rd time he says to be strong. I already commanded you to be strong and have courage. And Rashi says this time it's saying in the word, there's going to be words, you're going to have to be very strong and have courage. And do not be afraid, because Hashem is with you, your God, in everything that you do. And that is the end. They will do one more verse. We'll stick to 10 verses. Yeshua commanded the officers of the nation, saying, on the day that the weeping in the morning of Moshe was ended, Yeshua then goes now and relays, we're going to learn in tomorrow's class, the message that he wants to give to the rest of the Jewish people. But here we have the opening statement of Hashem to Yeshua and what Hashem wants from Yehoshua.